Well, welcome to Court Barn. My name is Phil Mead. I'm a volunteer demonstrator. My colleague Peter Cheesman. We have been operating here since 1980. We show the public how lead is cast in sand, and this is what we want to do today. We have chosen to do open box casting because that is more dramatic than other things we do. We've got a sequence that we will show you eventually, from a Tudor rose to a fire sign to a plaque. We are now preparing to make a Tudor rose from a pattern. Like any job you do, preparation is quite critical. We always brush our patterns because in brushing gets any foreign bodies off. There is a suggestion it creates a bit of static electricity. Pete has now put some parting sand on the pattern, which is like it's a French chalk in a powder, so that we can get the pattern from the sand. The sand we're using is a very fine sand. It has in it clay. As you notice, the initial sand is sieved so that we don't get anything on the pattern to ruin the end product. And then the sand has to be compressed properly onto the pattern and just tamped down with that wooden tamper to ensure it's secure into the corners. This is a very small item, but you could do this with much bigger items if you had better facilities. If it wasn't compact, when we turn it over to get the pattern out, the sand would obviously fall out the box. So we have to ensure that it is really compacted properly. Same technique would be used if we're doing bronze, if we're doing cast iron. The only difference is, of course, we need a hotter temperature to melt those metals. The lead we use, it melts at 328 degrees C. We have to have it up to nearly 400 to get it to flow. If the lead isn't hot enough, you then get cooling curves on the pattern which spoils it. So it's been struck off so that it's level with the top of the box. That's just to help reduce. There we go. The little tap was to free it, and there you have an impression of the Tudor rose. Right, we'd just like to show you a Tudor rose being made, and my colleague here has already put a pattern into a box and compressed sand on it. Obviously the Tudor rose comes from the Tudor period. Queen Elizabeth I had a Tudor rose on her coat of arms. Here we are pouring the lead. This is molten lead at about 380 degrees C. What you see there is a natural colour of lead, which is nice and shiny, but it oxidizes. One of the things we've had to do, of course, is to get that level, because if it wasn't level, liquids run off. So it started to solidify as we speak, and I'm sure if Pete taps the edge of the box, you could be able to see the edges are starting to solidify. As we're pouring it into cold sand with a little bit of moisture, it doesn't take too long to solidify. And as soon as that is solidified, we'll be able to tip it out, but it's still not quite solid in the centre yet, Pete? No. It won't take long. We could actually spray that with water to speed it up a little bit, but there are certain safety precautions to be adopted with lead. There we have it. We still have a bit of sand on it, and if you wanted to, when it's cleaned up, it will look like that. We'd just like to show you how we manufacture a lead sign. These are fire signs which were issued by the insurance companies, which were situated on the outside of a building to show that the occupiers had paid their premium. This is a pattern, and from this pattern it is put into sand and compressed, and when it is complete we have a replica like this. These lead signs now are quite popular as antiques. If you get an original, that costs you £200 or £300, but we can make replicas of various Norwich, Union, the Eagle Star insurance companies. Okay, well, you saw the preparation, you've seen the pouring, and now we're going to take the, oh look at that, beautiful, it's come out lovely, look at that, nice and shiny. So the lead is solidified, still very hot, and you've got a perfect reproduction of the lead sign. Warmed up the chill because we've got to get the moisture off it, because you put hot lead on wet surfaces, the wet surface goes to steam and lead goes everywhere. So this aluminium chill enables us to make several copies quickly, and we don't have to go through the procedure of putting it into sand. We'd only do this if we had several of these to make, because there's quite a lot of effort to make an aluminium chill. But we know we've got about 50 planters to make, and so it's worth our while to make the chill. Obviously, as you see, the lead is solidifying, and we should just be able to tip it straight out. Turn it up, tip it up. Just spin it around, Pete. So there we have a copy. That's the Worshipful Company coat of arms. So on the left we have the aluminium chill, which is described as a negative, and on your right you have the replica pattern, which is a positive. If we had to make a number of items, such as this gnome, we can produce an aluminium chill. What this means is these two halves can be put together, then clamped, then we put it into the vertical position, make sure it's stable. We pour lead into the chill and immediately pour the lead out. Now the aluminium being cold means that it will solidify around the edges and it becomes a hollow gnome. Probably a third of the weight it would have been if we'd filled it right up. There we go, and then all we do is just tip that out. Get that apart. What you need is I'll put the screwdriver in. Don't break it. Put a screwdriver underneath. So there is the chill, there is the gnome, and if we clean it up, he looks like that. The thing about that gnome is he's hollow. Because we poured it out straight away, the inside is hollow. So therefore we don't use as much lead. It's not a solid gnome. He's a hollow gnome. So we'd just like to show you, this is the pattern, and you will see from the colour that the horse and foal and the trees are brass. This is timber, and the definition in the lead pricks out the timber, the horse and the foal. There's a complete replica. The detail is very, very refined, and it's a perfect reproduction. Okay, we need to do 2 ladles because there's a lot of lead needs to go into here. Boiling a bit. Same technique as previously, but we have more lead, so it's 2 people. And it started to solidify already, you notice around the edges. Where's your brass brush? Where's your brass brush?